Greetings, y'all. This is Bami Delay Hotep. Seba'u Bami Delay Hotep. And I want to further explain the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism. And before I get into that, I want to share a little bit about why I've decided to dive deeper into not only yoga philosophy, but Buddhist philosophy and practice. And that is because I feel it's important to highlight the spiritual foundation, which has kind of become the background of these practices. And I believe that when we have an understanding of the philosophical, the spiritual foundation of these practices, we can experience the benefits of it in a more profound and transformational way. So just to give you kind of a brief explanation, because I feel it would be appropriate for me to get into detail about the different factors of the path. I'm going to share what the factors of the path are in English. At some point I'll share the names in Pali. So we have the factors of, let me first say this. There are considered to be three aggregates of the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism. And they're in a different order than you would see the order of the Noble Eightfold Path. I'll explain that after. So there's the aggregate of virtue, sila. Then there's concentration, samadhi. And then discernment, which I believe is panya. And there's a reason why it comes in this order. So with the aggregate of virtue, we have right speech, right action, and right livelihood. With the aggregate of concentration, we have right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. With the aggregate of discernment, we have right view and right resolve. Some people call right view, right understanding, and right resolve, right intention. And then in the super mundane version of the path, there's two other factors, and that is right knowledge and right release. So let me get into a little bit about virtue. Right speech includes abstaining from certain types of speech, such as gossip, lying, divisive speech, speech that's intended to divide people amongst each other, harsh language, and there's a whole explanation about the Buddha using sometimes harsh language. Maybe I'll share that later, and how it's appropriate at times. And that's all I'm recalling at the moment. Again, I'll go into this in more detail in another video with notes and stuff. Then we have right action. So we're abstaining. As you can see, most of this is about what we abstain from. Abstaining from stealing, from intentionally causing harm, from killing, and from sexual misconduct. I won't explain those in detail for now. Then we have right livelihood. So that's making a living in a way that honors both right speech and right action. So we're avoiding certain professions that cause harm to other living beings, that kill other living beings, that promote. Another thing that I just remembered about right action, which is things we're promoting, if promoting things that lead to non-sobriety, that's considered wrong livelihood, and sobriety, which is labeled as abstaining from intoxication or intoxicants, is another part of right action. So once we have a certain level of virtue, we can then begin to focus, or in combination of virtue, we can also focus simultaneously on the factors of meditation, of samadhi, concentration. So we have right effort, which is defined as um, unskillful qualities, keeping unskillful qualities that have not yet arisen from arising, abandoning unskillful qualities that have arisen, cultivating skillful qualities, and maintaining skillful qualities until the culmination in release and nibbana. I'll explain that further in another video. Then we have right mindfulness. And this is something that maybe a lot of you have heard about, but since it has come to the West, it has become something a little bit different than what it was taught according to the Pali Canon Suttas by Buddha and his direct disciples. And it actually even changed before it came to the West in the Theravada tradition with um, the inclusion of certain commentaries and sub-commentaries of the Pali Canon. But right mindfulness, as it was prescribed in the Pali Canon, looks something like keeping the mind in a certain frame of reference, such as form, which kind of equates to the breath, feelings, which are feelings of pleasure, pain, or neither pleasure nor pain, the mind, which is different mind states, so minds that are affected by different hindrances or unaffected by different hindrances, mind that is concentrated or not concentrated. We'll get into more detail later. And then number 4 is mental qualities, which includes hindrances, as I've mentioned earlier, such as attachment to sensuality, attachment to ill will and anger, laziness, restlessness, and uncertainty in regards to awakening and what is required to achieve awakening. And then there's also the factors, or the 7 factors for awakening, which include mindfulness, analysis of qualities, persistence, rapture, which is also joy, calm, also known as tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And we also, in right mindfulness, want to develop qualities of alertness, which is basically being aware of every moment of thought, every moment of action. You move your hand and you move it back. You want to be aware of moving the hand forward and moving it back. You want to be aware of the breath in and the breath out. And then there's ardency, which comes back to right effort. So another part of right mindfulness is right effort, is keeping unarisen, unskillful qualities from arising, abandoning arisen, unskillful qualities, developing skillful qualities, and maintaining skillful qualities. I'm aware that I have not defined what are unskillful and skillful qualities, and maybe I'll have that be the subject of the next video. And really, mindfulness is vast. There's a sutta that explains that um, if Buddha had a certain number of disciples who each had a 100-year lifespan, and every single day they learned about the Dhamma day and night throughout all activities, by the end of that 100-year lifespan, they still would not know everything about mindfulness. So mindfulness is a very vast subject, and there is a couple of suttas that are get into detail about mindfulness, but you actually have to read a list of a whole bunch of other suttas to get information that is not included in those. And a good place to start is Satipatthana Sutta, and also Anapanasati Sutta, which is mindfulness of in and out breathing. And then we have right concentration. So right concentration is the four jhanas. Just to give you a little taste of what jhana is from my memory. The first jhana is accompanied by what's called directed thought and evaluation. And it is experienced when we are in a space of seclusion from the hindrances, which there are 5. The first is sensuality. So, say for example, you're sitting in meditation and you start to think about breakfast. Breakfast is a sensual pleasure, which most of us enjoy. Anything that is regarding the senses of sight, of smell, of sound, of taste, of touch, and even of intellectual ideation would be considered sensuality. So we're in seclusion from sensuality, from ill will, which also is anger and hatred, what's considered sloth, laziness, or lethargy, restlessness, which contains regret, remorse, anxiety, and then uncertainty, which is uncertainty in the validity of the awakening of the Buddha, in the exposition of the Dhamma, and uncertainty in regards to what is considered unskillful and what is considered skillful. So, in a nutshell, what is unskillful leads away from the goal of the practice, and what is skillful helps to develop what is necessary in order to develop the path so that at one point it can be let go of. So once we're free of the 5 hindrances through directed thought and evaluation of either the breath, of feelings, of mental qualities, or the mind, which can contain subjects of Dhamma, certain contemplations like contemplation of inconstancy, we then begin to experience what's called rapture or joy, which is a pleasure beyond the flesh, as well as a little bit of concentration on our object of meditation, which the breath is a great place to come to and to start with. A little tiny bit of equanimity starts to come in. And I might have said this already, but pleasure. The pleasure beyond the flesh. Rapture is more like joy, pleasure-ish, beyond the flesh. They all kind of mingle a little bit sometimes. And then in the second jhana, the second state of concentration, we let go of directed thought and evaluation, and we just have these before mentioned qualities of rapture, joy. Rapture and joy is one. Pleasure, concentration. And the concentration becomes deeper because there's no longer that directed thought and evaluation. There's just attention on the, let's say, for example, the breath as it moves in and out. The third jhana, we let go of the rapture, the joy, and we come into a space that has more equanimity, but we also are aware of this pleasure that's beyond the flesh. And we've already let go of directed thought and evaluation. So we get into a deeper state of meditation. And then the fourth jhana, we also let go of the pleasure, both pleasure and pain. So with the previous disappearance of rapture, which also contains joy, or which also contains distress, and with the release of pleasure and pain, we then come to a space exclusively of mindfulness and equanimity. So this is equanimity beyond the flesh. And equanimity just kind of means even-mindedness. So whether there's pleasure or pain, joy or sorrow, there's a sense of it's non-bothersome. Pleasure and pain are treated the same. And this texts also say that there is a brightened awareness that basically takes up one's entire body. And the texts also say that in and out breathing is calmed, which for some people as they express it means that the breath stops. So whether it stops or we cease to become aware of it, I don't personally know because I haven't got to that level of concentration. And then there's actually 4 jhanas that are then preceded by the 4th jhana. But usually it's the first 4 jhanas are made to be the most important. And these other jhanas are called arupa jhana, which means formless jhana. The first 4 are rupa jhana, form jhana. And I won't get into those in this video. So all of the factors of the path are interrelated and interlinked. And really, as the Buddha expressed it, there's no way of extracting one factor and leaving out the rest. So you can't just have mindfulness without right effort and right concentration, without right speech, right action, right livelihood, without developing understanding, right view, and right resolve. And I realized I didn't get into right view and right resolve, but this video is coming up on 20 minutes, so that's something that I'll get into later. I know I've said that a lot throughout the video, but the reason why is because obviously this is very lengthy subject matter that will require a lot of videos, a lot of writing, a lot of time. So if you're here for that, please keep following my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If there's something you don't like about this video, you can leave a comment about it. I'm open to constructive criticism. If you have any questions, if you just want to dialogue, you can also put comments down below. subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Hotep, Ankh, udjah, seneb, ashe.